We'll just wait for another few minutes so that others can join and then we can begin.
Sure, ma'am. I hope my screen is visible and
Yes, it's clear.
Yes.
okay, ma'am. Yeah, I included
In fact, we can
one.
see you also.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I just included that camera option,
Oh, wonderful.
so I can do a instead of switching on the video, I am doing it in
Hmm.
the PowerPoint.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay. I have started the recording as well, just in case. Okay.
Then do we begin?
Yeah, we can. I think we have
Six of us are
six
here,
of us
so
are already there.
we'll respect their
We'll get
timing and
started, ma'am.
yeah,
So we'll
we'll
get
get
some
started.
time. Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. So I'll give a small introduction and then you can begin, Chitra. Uh, Welcome, Namaste, Vanakkam to all to yet another wonderful session on Red Fort Paper Castle tool here. And today we have Miss S. Chitra with a very interesting topic called Eat That Frog by author Brian Tracy, and it gives us 21 simple actionable methods to increase our productivity, reach our goals, eliminate procrastination. Most popular and international bestseller book on time management and personal productivity. I'm sure this session will be very productive to many of us here. You can begin, Miss Chitra. The stage is yours.
Sure. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for the introduction. Good evening to all of you. So today we are going to review the book Eat That Frog. Uh, Thanks for the Red Fort Forum for giving me this opportunity, and hope this will be useful for all of you. Okay, we will get started. So first thing I want to start with a background about the author. Author is a motivational speaker. He has written almost like more than 80 books, and many of his books have been translated into multiple languages, almost like 42 languages. And he is very popular for the uh, uh, time management and all the leadership related books are most popular out of all his books. And this is one of the books which is very popular, Eat That Frog. And this talks about being very productive and how to avoid procrastination. So let's look into this book and we can see how that lot of key takeaways are there. And you also, I would also recommend you to go to his website and look for his other books and explore other books as well. So let's get started. And this is a brief background about Brian Tracy. And so let's get into the book. So the book, in introduction, he talks about um, what is going to give in this entire book, and the first thing he talks about here is uh, to be selective. So in this, not only in this digital era, like in recent days, we have like too many things to do, and we do not know. Like we always feel overwhelmed with a lot of things to do. So even if you accomplish a lot of things, you will always have that feeling that okay, still I have to do, I am missing out on this. So that is something they call like FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. So that is very much high happening in the recent days, and that is where he starts the book with being selective of what you want to do, and eliminate a lot of things out of your bucket and keep selective things that which you really want to focus on. And second thing is truth about the frogs. Like the book name sounds very funny. Like how can we eat a frog? But why I think that he has kept that name is something like he calls the task or the big work, important work that we have to do, right? That might, uh, when you want to start that work, it might be so intimidating, something like eating a frog. So just imagine, like somebody says that every day you have to eat a frog. So throughout the day, you might be thinking, okay, I'll eat it later. Like because of the intimidation, you might be thinking, okay, I'll do it later, or you'll be postponing it. Like I want to give a funny example. Like in one of the comedy scene in Sendal Gauntamani, Sendal will be keep looking at the tea where there would fly would have been fallen the tea, so he'll be keep looking at that, but he won't drink. And then like Gaundamani will come and ask, why are you looking at the tea like this? He will come and he will drink it. And after that he will say, there was a fly in it, so I was thinking whether to drink or not. So the book name reminded me of this comedy, so I wanted to bring that comedy. So whenever it will be easy for you to remember the concept that we are learning from this book. So that's why I quoted that comedy scene. So something like the main point here, what he is trying to convey is the task which we have to do might sound so intimidating. How intimidating it can be is like going and catching a live frog and eating it. So that's how he is comparing it to the frog. So we'll see what are all the methods that we can learn from this book. And other than that, he also talks about developing the habits for success, how to develop positive addiction, and for anything like there is no shortcut, and uh, we have to use the technique of the 3D, which is like decision of what is priority and being disciplined and determined to achieve that, and also like visualize how to how visualization can improve, uh, be more effective to achieve your goals. So that's all about the introduction part in the book. And so this is what I thought of. What this came into my mind when I read this book, the name of the book. So why frog? So and also like kind of triggers an emotional response when we read this eat that frog, which is like a disgusting feeling or something. So maybe that might be like a trigger to make us remember what we have learned in this book. So do not get intimidated with the name. So that's the first thing I want to say. And let's go to the first chapter. First chapter, he talks about setting the table. So this is all about preparing yourself before even getting started with the work. So first thing is when the main reason why we procrastinate on a lot of things is the vagueness or confusion about our goals. Like we do not know where we want to go. So there is a friction to get started with that. So first thing is to strive for clarity, having clear set goals, and that will help you to jump right into the task instead of spending a lot of mental energy in thinking of what is really um, I mean, what's really I'm going to achieve, or what's my real goal for this day, week, or month. And in order to bring that clarity, the best method is to think on paper. So once you write down on paper, you can just think it will definitely will get done. So that is kind of impact that will have if you have write it on a paper. And at work, if you are confused or like if you don't have a clarity, always you can discuss with your manager on the expectation and also the goals. So, and then you can set a clear goal which will keep you motivated towards that direction. So, it's something like having a clear direction to go, and that will definitely keep you motivated and keep going towards your goal. So that is the power of the goals, like power of writing the goals. And from this topic, my insight is like the confusion, being confused is something um, like not having any direction. So when you're traveling to some place, you need a direction, right? Where to go, and having that direction is something which is called the clarity about the goals. And also regarding the goal setting, we are when we talked about the book One Minute Manager. This there is I want to refer this to that point where we discussed to create the first point that discussed in that book is to create a 1 minute goal. Like you can read the goal in 1 minute in a short, brief description, and that will be reviewed by the manager, and the employee will have that look at that goal every day, so that will motivate the employee to go in that direction. So, and moving to the second, so plan every day in advance. So this is also like very important because uh, the first thing is if you spend 10 to 15 minutes in planning, it will save almost like 2 hours to 2.5 hours of your effort on the day. So that is the power of planning and setting the right priorities in advance. So also in this, like if you can do this in the morning as a first activity, or if you do it in the previous day of the work, I mean, if you do this list the day before you are going to work, that will be more effective because while sleeping, your mind will subconsciously align to that, and then it will make sure next day you get all those important things done. So that's the power of planning the things ahead on the previous day itself. And other thing is prioritization. So, like I said, we always have a lot of things in our bucket, never ending, but we need to spend a little time and ensure that we are prioritizing the right task and sequence them in that order of which you have to do. That way, you will be able to achieve the maximum out of your day. And also, I just added the quotes that have been mentioned in the book in each chapter. So you can read this. So these quotes are really very motivating. So I just included it here. So you can also read those quotes. And going to the next method is applying 80-20 rule on the time management. So on every day there will be like few tasks which will have a great value. Even though you have like tons of activities on your list, there are very few vital tasks that are really high value. So that is where we need to first focus on. So that is what he's calling that, that is your frog, that is the frog that you have to eat first. So and you might have a lot of small things in your list, and always you will have a tendency to pick up the small task because you feel that okay, if I complete this task, I'll feel like I have checked one out of my list. But what he says here is don't go with the temptation. You don't have to go, and even if it is small task, never go and start with a low value task. Keep it aside one task which might be very big and very difficult to do, and that might be of very high value. So you have to start with that. No matter what, just start with that one big thing you need to do, and avoid the temptation to do the small things. So that can come after you have completed your high value task. And other thing is like uh, when you complete a big task, like very uh, like challenging task, the kind of motivation you get, you cannot compare it with other things. Like you will feel like a kind of an accomplishment when you are able to nail that challenging and big task. So that is why he specifies the 80-20 rule. I think most of you will know this 80-20 rule. So 20 percentage of the things will have uh, like 80 percentage of impact. So in your list of tasks, there will be a 20 percentage of very vital few, which will give the value of almost 80 percentage of the value. That is where applying the 80-20 rule will definitely help you managing your time. And the next one is the considering the consequences. So this is about like focusing on the long term task instead of the short term task. So you will have a lot of tasks that you need to do, which is towards a long term goal. Most of the time, we will not have that enough motivation to do that, because you won't have an uh, immediate reward for that, right? So that is where you need to think about the consequence of the task. How much value is this going to give me? And that is how you have to plan your task and prioritize your task. So there is a three question thing he has mentioned in this chapter. So before you start prioritizing a task, you can ask these three questions to yourself about like what are the highest value activities, and what difference it will make if I complete this task, and and also like what is the most valuable use of my time. So if you ask these three questions, you will definitely end up doing the task that will have a really highest value, and it will give you a highest value in return while you do that task. So I will recommend to maybe you can stick this question somewhere around your in your desk and keep asking these questions frequently, which will drive you towards the right direction. And the fifth topic he talks about is the practice creative procrastination. So this is all about procrastinating the low value task. So since we all have a lot of things in our bucket to do, we always have to procrastinate on something. So it's not like we can do entire thing in the world, right? You cannot. Everyone have only limited time. So everyone procrastinates, but the only thing is how creative and wise we are in procrastinating. Not procrastinating the important things, but procrastinating the low value things, like like something like if you wanted to watch some serial on TV, you can try to procrastinate that, because it is not going to give any value to you. And something like if you want to watch a movie, right? We all have that tendency, craziness to go and watch a movie on the first day. You can procrastinate that and you can watch it after a week or 2 weeks, instead of wasting time and going and standing in the queue in the front of the theater. So these are some realistic examples that I could give, and also look for opportunity where you can outsource and delegate certain tasks that doesn't have to be done only by you, which can be done by others, and which might add more value if it is done by others. And that's how you need to prioritize the work. So that's about the creative procrastination. And this is okay. The sixth chapter talks about the ABCDE method. So all this is also about the prioritization. So think on paper. Just write all your goals on the paper, and once you have written it, you can mark each of them with A, B, C, D, E. Categorize them as A, B, C, D, E. And A is something that is your frog. That is nothing but the high value, most important things. And in A, if you have more than one high value important task, the most difficult one should be the first one. So that will be the A1, then the next will be A2, A3, and so on. And B is something like might look like a frog, but this is like a tadpole. Uh, it might it is something like uh, not a highest value, but it might look like the highest value. So always we need to keep it as the second in our list. And C is like nice to do. D is like things that you can delegate. E is something like you can eliminate completely. So once we have categorized in this way, start with A1, A2, A3, and then go to B and C and so on. So, but we have to have the entire focus first on the A. That will be our first focus. And only if we have time, we have to go to the B after completing the A, the task in the A1, A2, A3. So this is something like a simple method. And moving on to the next topic, it's about focusing on the key result area. So almost like whatever we are talking, most of them come to the same point. So the the key result area also something like adds more value to the organization. For as an employee, like you can think about which vital function you are performing, and which will really like make a value to the organization. So that will be the key result areas which are in your control. So we need to focus on that. And in order to achieve that, achieve a good result in that, we have to strive for excellence. So how can, so I know that, okay, this is my key result area. So next step is how can I do this in a very excellent way. So that will make the real difference and create the real value to the organization, and also gives a lot of motivation as an individual when you're able to do it in a very excellent manner. So that is all, and that is where he talks about developing the skill set on the key area. For example, I want to give my own example. Like I am from IT background, so right now I'm working on data integrations, and uh, for me, like the key skill set I need to develop is all the latest technologies using cloud. So that is where I can excel in my job, and also as a team lead and managing my team, I need to excel in becoming a good leader. So that is where I have to focus on developing that leadership skills so I can do my duty in a very excellent manner. Same way, I would recommend you to identify the key function that you are playing, and identify the skills that you have to develop in order to do your work in a very excellent way, that will really make a lot of difference in your career. So that's about the key focus area and law of three. So there is a chapter where he talks about law of three. So this is like uh, he asked to take 30 seconds and write down the three most important goals. You can do this activity for your work, your personal life, your personal development, or like the personal growth. So any area you can take that area and then take just 30 seconds and write the three top important goals. So you will be amazed with this because uh, within the 30 seconds, what you write are the real goals. So you might think you might need a lot of time to write that, but actual thing is subconsciously you will be aware of these things, and when you are given limited time, you will be able to come up with that. So those are the big three which you have to focus on in order to save a lot of time and being very effective and efficient in those area. And that is where he also talks about if you are able to be efficient at work, you will save a lot of time, which will also help your work life balance. So that is why the importance of developing the skill and being able to do the things very quickly, efficiently will help you. And the next chapter is prepare thoroughly before you begin. So this is about your preparing your work desk and the workspace. Something like make your like when you're preparing a meal. Take the example of preparing a meal. As most of us can relate to this example, uh, if you have all your ingredients right on the counter ready, it is very easy to prepare your meal and with much ease, right? So instead of searching for each items, same thing applies to our work also. So keep the work desk very organized and uh, ensure that the workplace is so conducive and comfortable and also attractive. It will let you spend more time in your work desk. So some and important thing is remove all the clutter in front of you and keep it somewhere out of your vision, so that that will not distract you from your actual work that you are doing. So and I can give you some example like uh, what I can do is I sometimes use the sticky notes to write down some important things, so that will help me to quickly turn back to the uh, important task and also keep everything accessible at the desk. And I also prefer having another desk towards my work desk, right of my work desk, so I can use it to keep the extra things or the extra personal laptop. So those are the things, and also I have very strict schedule now, which I want to see every day. But it may not be visible. But yeah, something like this, which I can take a look every day. I keep changing that. So something these are just some examples I want to share, but you can be creative in designing your workspace in your own way. And don't the other important point in this chapter is don't try to be a perfectionist. Try to make do the job like with at least 80% of uh, perfection. uh, and he gives like a run it up the flagpole and see if everyone salutes. So that's something like I could say like presenting this book is something similar to that. So uh, instead of striving for perfection, always get started and do it. At one point, you when you do keep doing it, you will attain that excellence. So that is about that perfection thing he talks about. So many of us we procrastinate because we wanted to do something perfectly, but until we have that confidence, okay, I can do this perfectly, we will not get started. So that's kind of a blocker for many people. So where that's why he talks about the perfection. And the next chapter talks about one interesting story. Something happened in his life. Like the author, he while he was traveling in the Sahara Desert in an old car, um, like that desert was like around 500 miles long. He has to cross that desert, and people when they travel through the desert, a lot of people will get lost in the middle because it's a very vast area, and also it has like so much of wind, and because of the sand and the wind, people get lost, and even like thousands of people who travel, they even lose their lives in that travel. So in that, in order to help the travelers to cross the desert, what they have done is like they have kept some oil barrels every 5 kilometers. So they instead of getting diverted somewhere, they had to, in order to make them travel in the same track, they have put that oil barrels every 5 kilometers. So when you are at a place in the desert, right? At one point you can see one oil barrel that you have crossed, and also you can see another oil barrel coming ahead, which will be like 5 kilometers apart, um, across the horizon. So that help many of the travelers to follow through that oil barrels, and then they reach their destination. Um, so this is something which we can relate to our goals and our long-term goals and things that we want to achieve in life. And you can consider this oil barrel as an um, analogy. So you can consider like you when you start the travel, it might be so overwhelming. How are you going to travel this entire 500 miles? But the travel happens one barrel by one at a time. You cross one barrel, then you cross the next barrel, you cross the next barrel, and that is how you reach your final goal. So something like this, you can consider each milestone as a barrel. You can set a goal, uh, your long-term goal into small goals, and you can achieve it. So I just drew one oil barrel for myself. So this is like these are like some things I have to learn, and I have to write some. I want to write some certifications and exams. So I have set some oil barrels. So it will be like I'll take one barrel at a time. I'll complete this, then I'll go to the next barrel. So this analogy is very interesting, and uh, can relate it to each one of you for to achieve your own goals. And moving on to the next chapter is about the key upgrade the key skills. Like the same thing what we talked about earlier, something very similar to that. Uh, once you would have already identified your key area in your work and in your personal growth, and then spend like 30 to 60 minutes to read every day about that topic. So that will keep yourself ahead in your career, and also when you keep getting the new information on daily basis, you will be able to collect all those information. At one point, you will know a lot of things, and you can really connect each of the things, which will make you are a very knowledgeable person in your own field and also a go-to person in your own field. So also like try to do seminars, courses, whatever skill you want to develop, right? Just go for the seminar courses and do all those things, which will keep you motivated towards your towards achieving a high level of skill set in your key area. And other idea is shares is like in the if you are traveling long long hours to work, you can use the time to listen to audio books or podcast or any kind of audio uh, program that is very educational. So if you are spending 1 hour on travel, you can utilize the time in a very efficient way. So that is some example regarding this course and seminar. What I one example I wanted to give is like recently I started going and attending cloud courses in person. That changed the way I'm learning AWS cloud. Before that, I was so intimidated in learning that. Now I feel like very comfortable because once I started going to the classes and seminar in person, it really made a lot of difference the way I look at learning the new skill. Uh, because in the in-person training, they give a lot of workshop like demos and hands-on. So they guide us through the seminars and the session, which really helped me and motivated to do learn the skill. So this same thing you can apply to your own area of uh, the key area that you want to focus on. And so, for some example, presenting, okay, some skills that I have developed in, I can talk about some of the skills. Like, first thing, when I started as a IT engineer, I was struggling typing emails in the initial phase of my career. So I used to spend a lot of time in just searching the keys and typing it. But later on, like uh, I learned there are some online typing website to learn typing. So you have to just follow that and you have to just see and type it. So when I did that, it really helped me a lot because I was more efficient in typing after that. So I was saving a lot of time in typing the emails without searching for each keys. And the second thing, important thing I want to share is, which I want to thank all of the Red Fort members and all people who have joined my sessions. So after starting presenting the books, I have improved a lot in presenting in my presentation skills. So whenever I do demos at my work, I am able to do more efficiently than earlier. So that is something really helpful, and I'm very grateful for that opportunity. And something I wanted to highlight is recently I learned about lean management. There is a concept called lean management. So that uh, something developed from the Toyota production system. Um, that is something like a framework, or you can say it like a methodology you can apply to anything in life, like work or managing things at home, or it was started for the manufacturing, but you can apply it anywhere. So it also helped me to apply some of those ideas in my project work, and I was able to be more efficient in my work. So these are some examples. I guess this will you will also have a lot of things in your own key area. So keep doing that, and that will really take you to greater heights. Moving to the next is about the key constraints. So we all have constraints. We all have blocks in our mind. So identifying that is really game changer because uh, you know, without knowing what's a real blocker, right? Even if you take some action, it may not result in the right direction. So, for that, one example I could give is when I started coming into the Red Fort Forum, I was so impressed with the way like everyone was presenting their knowledge, and I had so much of takeaway, and I was so motivated, and I felt I also I want to do this and help people to learn something new, but something was always blocking me in doing that. Then I was thinking through why am I not, what is holding me back. Then I thought that a lot of fear factor was involved, like whether I will be really a value to the group, or will I be able to give something valuable. That was one fear factor, and also uh, other thing was like I'm not a great presenter. How can I do this? That was other thing which was blocking me. But I had the drive to do it. So at one point I was able to do it, overcome that fear, and I was able to do it. Uh, so all that was saying to myself was, okay, let's do it. If it doesn't work, then I can leave it. So that's how I started. But after starting it, honestly, like this has really been an awesome journey and game changer for me. It gives a lot of uh, motivation and energy for me. So thank you everyone for that. I have to thank everyone for that, patiently listening to me. And I hope you will also identify your constraints and you'll be able to work on that and overcome that. And next thing is about putting pressure on yourself, creating some imaginary deadline. Most of you might have heard about the Parkinson's law. Like, if you don't have a deadline to complete something, right, you will take a lot of time to keep doing it. So you'll be doing it to on and on, over and over again. You will not come to a conclusion, okay, I'm done with this task. So that's why deadlines are very important. Always like create, even if there is not a very strict deadline, just create an imaginary deadline. Okay, by this time, I will complete this. So that will uh, get things completed, make you get things completed, and also it will enable you to go extra mile. So, like for example, starting earlier at your work, and if you spend a little extra mile, so that will really be a game changer, because there is a famous quote about this: there is no traffic jam on the extra mile. So always we can strive to go the extra mile, which will where there is not much traffic jam, or you can say not much competition, something like that. So that is where he talks about the importance of the extra mile. And in order to achieve that extra mile, always have deadlines and keep things pushing things so that you will have that extra time for going that extra mile, and motivate yourself into action. So this is very interesting topic. So you have to identify how to motivate yourself. So each one will have something that will motivate us, drive us. So uh, for me, I will say that listening to Rajnikant songs, it will bring a lot of energy in me, and also MGR songs, which will make me feel so energized. So like that, everyone will have something that will motivate you. So you have to identify that and be all aware of that. So whenever you're down, you can, or if you don't have that kind of energy level, that can trigger the motivation to do your work for the day. And also, like when there are setbacks, always don't think about blaming something. Always we need to strive to think about what next instead of blaming who did this or why this happened. So, what next will always um, take you towards the positive direction. And also, like, keep thinking and talking about your goals with your friends and family. So it will always have that in your mind to drive you towards the direction. So that's all he has discussed about the motivation. And next he talks about the technology. So two things he says here is technology is a terrible master or a technology can be a wonderful servant. So it all depends on how we are going to use the technology. Whether you want to make the technology a master, um, we need to be aware that technology is a terrible master, but technology is a wonderful servant. So this is here he talks about how we get lost in the technology, like maybe like social media apps and all those things in recent days. So it basically the main thing is that we psychologically we have become breathless. Like we don't even have time to enjoy small things. We are not even spending some time keeping the phone away and enjoying the little things in life. That's a hard truth of today. But that we have to be aware of that, so you won't get trapped into that. And also being very aware of that and detaching yourself from the technology will keep you very clear headed, and also will always have the sense of calmness. So so in order to achieve that, sometimes what I do is like earlier I used to go for a walk without taking the phone. Whenever, generally, if I go for a walk with my phone, right, I always have the tendency to wear the headphones and listen to some songs. So even that gap, we will not give even that gap to be a little bit free without doing anything. So that was really a nice thing I can quote from my own experience. Like that, there are a lot of way you can do it. Like being in sports, also is something you will definitely be away from the technology, and you will be actively involved in the game. And other thing is like while eating the food, right? Mostly we will not enjoy our food. Either we'll be watching TV and we'll be watching a phone. So that we would have just wasted that delicious food. It would have been um, pleasant experience of having the delicious food. But by the time it goes to the stomach, you wouldn't have realized that you have eaten this so delicious food. That's the hard reality of today. So I would recommend each of you to have food, maybe have the food without having any distraction. Just enjoy the food. So coming to the making using the technology as wonderful servant, um, there are a lot of ways you can do it, like disabling the notifications, tracking your screen time, using the focus mode, and you can also set up like a auto reply message when you are when you are doing something critical. You don't want any distraction. It can send an automatic reply through SMS. And also in the book also he talks about emergency, like in case of emergency, how will you handle it. Like personally I know this option, that is the second call option. If somebody is calling you and if you're not picking the call, that call will not be notified. If the same person calls you again immediately, then that will enable the notification and ring the call. Something like that, always you have option to set up your technology in that way, which you can avoid distraction and use it as a servant and be the master of your phone or whatever technology you're using. And moving to the next topic, focus your attention on one thing. So the multitasking, the illusion of multitasking. So I always remember this Tamil proverb when I remember this doing a single thing. In Tamil, we have a proverb, ஒன்றே செய், நன்றே செய், அதுவும் இன்றே செய். Um, that means that do one thing, do uh, best, do your best on that, and do it today. So that is the meaning of that proverb. So doing one thing, uh, putting a complete focus on one thing is really very important, especially for the challenging and highly important task. Put your complete focus on that, and once you complete that highly challenging and important task, you would have completed like 80% of your, you would have reached 80% of the value that you wanted to get on the day. So that is how you have to proceed, and do not do multitasking. Always try to do a single task at one time, because shifting he also talks about that shifting between tasks, it's very overwhelming for the brain, so it's very taxing for the brain. So you can do much more effectively if you are doing one thing at a time. And slice and dice the task is same, something like chunking your task into small things. Even if you are comfortable, even you can chunk it into like 15-minute task or 10-minute task. However you want to split it, that way you won't to get overwhelmed. Okay, I have to do this big thing. uh, that small thing, once you complete one small task, you can move to the next small task. He has quoted the example of his friends, like who have written books, right? In his friend circle, they, many of them, they write even like one. There are people who have written one page a day or one paragraph a day until they complete the entire book. So never underestimate the power of doing the things in a very small chunks, because collectively it will become you will be able to reach your goal when you put it into small tasks. And for the, and I know that it cannot be done for everything. You might have some tasks which are really large chunk. So for these things you can set up some focused time to continuously like 90 minutes or 2 hours, and do that work without any distraction. So, like, say for example, you can work on it in the early morning, spend some 1 hour or 2 hours in the early morning, or if you are a night owl, like you can also do it in the late night when there is no disturbance. You can spend a solid 2 hours or 1.5 hours. And other the options are like you can go to library. I like to go to library and spend time to do focused work. So that's another idea. Um, moving to the next one, develop a sense of urgency. So we, like you said, most of the things may not have a deadline as such, but we need to create a deadline for ourselves, and also have always have the sense of urgency to get some things done. So we always be ahead in your schedule. So always have that sense of urgency of not, okay, not putting things to do later, and think that this is something urgent, and get things done. Because the main important point discussed in this chapter is about the flow state. So when you are doing a work in a speed, and when you are doing it continuously, you will reach a flow state. So that is all comes from the momentum of doing the things, and get gaining that energy and momentum. So in order to use that momentum, always have that, even if there is no external sense of urgency, you create that sense of urgency to be in that state, and keep progressing on that. Because once you stop, like once you have a break and when you start it right, it might be something like you have to gain that momentum from the beginning. So, in order to avoid that, to be in the flow state and momentum, we have to always have that sense of urgency, even if it's not comes from the external environment. And everyone gets distracted, and this is like the mantra he gives in the last chapter. Back to your work. Whenever you are distracted, that's okay. But all that you need to remember is back to work. So even if you are distracted, you can get back to your work. And the importance of self-discipline, self-mastery, and self-control. Uh, also, it like I mean, it is the basic building block of building our own character and also being a best performer at work. So there is a famous quote about that, like even if you don't feel like doing something, you have to do that thing. That is called self-discipline. So this is a quote, famous quote on this. Uh, every day I might not feel like doing that thing, but still, whether I feel like doing it or not, I have to do that thing. So that is called that self-discipline that we need to develop in order to be very productive and avoid the procrastination. So this is the 12 chapters that are discussed in the book. So I wish all of you eat your frog and progress in your career and your personal life. Thank you very much for listening to me. I would like to hear back from you as well. So hope I made this session quick and finished it for some time for people to talk about. Yeah. I
Yes, yes, go ahead.
Yes, please go ahead, ma'am.
I just wanted to say really a wonderful session. As usual, you have taken time to make the PPT and get examples, in spite of being so busy in your profession too. And I'm really glad that Redford Forum has given you so much that helped you to progress as a person and also in your profession. I'm sure all of us here will agree with me. And now the forum is open for feedbacks and your point of views. Please go ahead. Feel free. Yes, sir.
Thank you so
I
much.
thoroughly enjoyed the visuals and the examples because the examples actually tells us that they are all workable. It is not something that cannot be practiced. Thank you so much, Chitra.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks for joining and listening.
Yes, go ahead, sir. Uh, whoever has raised their hand, sir, would you go ahead? Yes, sir, go ahead.
Um, Good evening, madam. First of all, Ms. Chitra has taken a book review in a very excellent manner, and especially so how she is managing her time is more important because this is basically belongs to time management. She taken presentation very well, and it's easily understandable for everyone. Especially, I read the book for two times. Twice I read the book, and so I'm very big fan of Eat the Frog book. First, initially, I thought how she can cover all the 21 steps into the in 1 hour. That is really challenging, but she did very well. So many takeaways from the book. So the focus of the work, that is the key point in the book. I felt so. Very good. Thank you, ma'am. So excellent session. So presentation. How do you are the PPTs and all very nice. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me opportunity for giving my feedback to the forum. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the feedback. I'm glad that it helped you, and thanks for joining and spending your time. Thank you.
Hey, hi, this is Nalini. I'm
Hi, Nalini.
Chitra Colley, and I'm glad I'm able to join this session today. I was late, but still, it was very effective and very useful session. First of all, what I would like to tell about Chitra, the effort you put. I know reading a storybook and just come up with a presentation and making all those story to be presented in 1 hour is not an easy job. You did it very well. I can understand your thorough reading and the knowledge you have behind, like what you have gained out of this book. So that is really great. And one of the things, the takeaway what I had was about the lean management. So when we talk about the time management, at the same time, like what the value we add, we should also focus on the non-value addition, so that we can get rid of that from our daily work to be more productive. So that is something I take away from this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Nalini. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, ma'am. Totally agree with
Tracy.
you.
Hey
எனக்கு
Chitra.
இன்னொன்று
சொல்லுங்க மேம்.
Hi.
எனக்கு இன்னொன்று மனசில் என்ன தோணிட்டு தெரியுமா, இந்த வேல்யூ ஆட் நான் வேல்யூ ஆட் அப்படிங்கிற கான்செப்டே புரிதல் வெரி இம்பார்ட்டண்ட். பிகாஸ் நிறையா பேர் நான் ஏதோ வேல்யூ ஆட் பண்ணுறேன் அப்படின்னு அவங்க லைஃப்பை ரொம்ப க்ரௌடடாக வச்சுட்டு ஸ்ட்ரெஸ்ஸில் 20 வயசுலேயே செத்தே போடுறாங்க. So, time is to be used in terms of value add அப்படின்னு பார்க்கும்போது மகிழ்ச்சிக்கு, ஹெல்த்துக்கு, கெரியருக்கு, பணத்துக்கு, குடும்பத்துக்கு, whatever it is. So, the question of value and non-value add needs a little thinking. தோணிது. The other thing that came into my mind was somehow in my life, I have always thought I want to be the best தான் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கில்லராக ஆயிடுறது அப்படின்னு தோணும். அதனால அதையும் எடுத்துட்டு ஒர்க் பண்ணாக்க ஒரு டைம் வந்து இஸ் ஈக்குவல் டு லைஃப் ஆக்சுவலி. டைமை மெஷர் பண்ணுறதே ஒரு மார்ச்சுவரிக்கு போனால், ஐ மீன் ஒரு கிரேவியார்டுக்கு போனால் கூட அது மேலே பிறந்த தேதி செத்து போன தேதியில் தான் போட்டிருப்போம். ஸோ வாழ்க்கையே டைம் அப்படிங்கிறதுனால எது என்ஜாயபிளோ அது பண்ணுறது இன்னும் அழகுன்னு தோணிட்டு. தேங்க்யூ.
Correctly
Super.
said, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you,
Anyone,
ma'am. Thank you.
anyone else wants to come forward?
Yeah.
Hey, Subhashni here. Hi Chitra.
Hey, Subha.
Hi.
Good morning. Hey, hey.
Very good morning.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you for this presentation. It was so insightful. From the just going through this with you, I see that you have been very persistent, not just by reading the books, you're implementing it in your life as well. And you're spreading this knowledge to all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Subha. Thank you so much. Oh, okay.
Rekha, ma'am. Shengupal, sir. Would you like to say something? Mohan, sir.
நன்றி. இட் வாஸ் வெரி வெரி குட் ப்ரெசன்டேஷன். அவங்க சித்ரா மேடத்துக்கு வந்து தேங்க்ஸ் சொல்லணும், நிறைய தேங்க்ஸ் சொல்லலாம். ஆக்சுவலாக வெரி வெல். இந்த ப்ரெசன்டேஷன் வந்து ஒவ்வொரு லைஃபுக்கு ஒவ்வொருத்தருக்கும் எப்படி தேவை, அதாவது வாட் ஆல் நீடட் ஃபார் எவ்ரி ஒன் டு யூனோ டு பி அ சக்ஸஸ்ஃபுல், சோம்பேறித்தனமாக இல்லாமல், அதாவது without delaying anything, how to achieve, and over step was very amazing, very nice presentation, and well thought, prepared presentation. Really enjoyed. Thanks for, as soon as after listening your speech, interested to read the book also, but you have given the highlights of the whole brief of the book. So I think this is very good, and thank you very much for you, and also Redford, Seva Madam, and everybody. Thank you.
Yes, that's the
Thank you so much
intention,
for this.
sir, to read more books inspired by these sessions. Yes,
Yes, sir.
Singopal,
And
sir.
it's very small book. You can complete it within, I think, 3 or 4 hours. So, if definitely, I'll recommend you to buy and read because everyone will have a different perspective when we read it, right? So, uh, definitely, I will recommend you to read the book, sir. Thanks so much
Yes,
for your feedback.
absolutely. A single book can be reviewed by different people, and give us a different point of views.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Singopal, sir, you can go ahead.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks, Chitra, for bringing this book and presenting it so nicely. I still remember the last time we attended your program was on the new 1 minute manager, if I'm not wrong.
Yes,
You
yes, sir.
presented the book, isn't it? Yes, great. So, as you said, this book might take only 3 hours to read, but however, you must have spent more than the 3 hours to make this presentation, make notes, and make this presentation. I'm sure that effort is seen. That shows that how much you have put this task as a value add task and prioritize this. Thanks for prioritizing this and sharing this knowledge with all of us. ஸ்டீஃபன் கவி கூட சொல்றாரு, 7 ஹேபிட்ஸ்லேயே சொல்லியிருப்பாரு. ஸோ அந்த பிரின்சிபல் சொல்றப்ப சொல்லுவாரு, learn as if you are going to teach someone. Learning for yourself and learning to teach someone makes a lot of difference. And I'm sure that's what happens when every time you prepare to do a presentation for others, and especially when you review the book with other group of people. So I'm sure more than anyone else, you would have the double dhamaka of reading and also teaching. நான் வந்து இன்னைக்கு பர்சனலாக வந்து ஸோ நோயிங் மேக்ஸ் நோ டிஃப்ரென்ஸ். நானும் இது மாதிரி நிறைய புக்ஸ் வாசிக்கிறோம், படிக்கிறோம், சொல்கிறோம். பட் ஆக்ஷன் எடுக்கிறதுல வந்து ரொம்பவே அந்த ப்ரொகாஸ்டினேஷன் இருந்துகிட்டே இருக்குது. ஸோ அஸ் இன்னைக்கு வந்து உங்களுக்கு இந்த ரீடிங்க்கு உங்களுக்கு ஒரு ஒரு பெரிய கிரெடிட்டாக நான் சொல்ல விரும்புறது, நான் அப்படி ப்ரொகாஸ்டினேட் பண்ணுற நிறைய விஷயங்களில் ஒரு விஷயத்த ஆஸ் வி ஆர் டாக்கிங் நிறைய பேர் என்ன சொல்லுவாங்க, ஐம் ட்ரெயினர். ஸோ நான் வந்து B2B ஸ்பேஸில் இருக்கேன், B2Cயில் இல்லாதனால அவுட் சைடர்ஸ் தெரியாது. பட் கார்பரேட்ஸில் நல்ல பேர் வாங்கியிருக்கேன்னு சொல்லலாம், நிறைய சொல்லிக்கிறாரு. பட் அதை தாண்டி நிறைய பேர் கேட்பாங்க, சார் நீங்கள் ஏன் சார் இது பண்ண மாட்டீங்க, அது பண்ண மாட்டீங்க, நீங்கள் ஏன் இன்ஸ்டாகிராம் ரீல்ஸ் போட மாட்டீங்க, யூடியூப் சேனலில் வீடியோஸ் போட மாட்டீங்கன்னு கேட்பாங்க. ஸோ அதை நம்ம ப்ரையாரிட்டைஸ் பண்ணல. மேபி இந்த ஒரு ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டி எடுத்துகிட்டு ஐ டுக் த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஸ்டெப். இப்போ வந்து ஒரு 5 வீடியோஸ்க்கான நோட்ஸ் வந்து நீங்கள் இப்போ ப்ரெசென்ட் பண்ணுற டைம்லேயே அந்த 18th ஸ்டெப் நீங்கள் சொன்னீங்க இல்லையா, அதை இம்ப்ளிமெண்ட் பண்ணிட்டேன். ஓகே, ஸோ ஒரு 5 வீடியோஸ்க்கான கண்டென்ட் வந்து எழுதிட்டேன். ஸோ ஓகே, ஸோ ஐ ஹவ் டேக்கன் ஆக்ஷன். ஸோ தட் இஸ் த ப்ரைஸ் ஃபார் எ ப்ரெசன்டேஷன். ஸோ கீப் ப்ரெசென்டிங் மோர் புக்ஸ் லைக் திஸ் அண்ட் enjoy reading. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It's really motivating for me to hear that you have taken some action. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
Chitra, you have motivated Sengopal, sir. He is the most experienced in our group here, and we all enjoy his sessions. So you are a part of his being motivated to create, reels. Sir, we'll all follow you.
Yes, sir. Definitely, we'll follow you on the social media.
Yes.
I have one question. I didn't read this book. However, I vaguely associate one more concept to this book. That is about eating the ugly frog. Is it part of this book? Is it something which we missed to discuss, or is it not part of the book?
Yes, yes. Yeah, it's part of the book. Like the most, he says that first eat the ugliest frog. If you have more than one frog to eat, we have to eat that ugliest frog. That is
Correct.
like the most challenging and difficult one. Should be the
I think
first thing to.
that is one of the important piece of this book. Okay, people even without reading the book, they talk about this concept. So you can say that in few words to for everyone to understand. அதாவது 2 ஃப்ராக் உங்க டேபிள்ல இருக்கு, நீங்க 2 ஃப்ராகுமே சாப்பிட்டு தான் ஆகணும். அதுல ஒரு ஃப்ராக் ரொம்ப அக்லியா இருக்கு, அக்லி லுக்கிங் ஃப்ராகா இருக்கு. எந்த ஃப்ராகை நீங்க ஃபர்ஸ்ட் சாப்பிடுவீங்க? ஸோ ஆல்ரெடி நீங்க ஐ திங்க் யூ மேட் இட் வெரி கிளியர். இந்த அனாலஜி ஆஃப் ஃப்ராக்ன்றது வந்து கொஞ்சம் டிஸ்கம்ஃபர்டிங்காக இருக்கலாம் அப்படின்றத நீங்கள் விளக்கிட்டீங்க. ஸோ நவ் லெட்ஸ் அந்த விளக்கி வச்சுட்டு பார்த்தோம்னா, உங்கள் டேபிளில் 2 ஃப்ராக் இருக்குது, 2மே நீங்கள் சாப்பிட்டே ஆகணும். அதுல ஒரு ஃப்ராக் இன்னும் கொடூரமா இருக்கு, கரண கொடூரமா இருக்கு. எந்த ஃப்ராகை நீங்க ஃபர்ஸ்ட் சாப்பிடுவீங்க அப்படின்றதான் கேள்வி.
Correct, correct, sir. So, why we say that we have to eat the ugliest frog is like, uh, the thing is, one point what I think was when there are some things that we have to do, it always keeps, it will be running in our back of the mind. That's something important, I'm not doing it. So, for example, you know that you have to eat this frog, but if you keep pushing it, that in your mind, it will be there will be an uncomfortable feeling in your mind always. Oh, I have to eat that frog, whatever it happens. Uh, I need to eat that frog. But instead of having that disturbed thing in your mind, keep on having that thing. If you first finish eating it, it will just go away from your mind. So that maybe that is the reason we might say that we have to eat that ugly frog first. Uh, Also, maybe it is very challenging, and that's why we think it as an ugly frog. So if the challenging things needs to be taken as the first one to do, and probably that is the another way to look at it. So is that right, Sengu sir?
வேரியஸ் இன்டர்பிரேஷன் பண்ணலாம். நீங்க சொன்னதும் கரெக்ட் தான். ஸோ எப்படி எதனால இந்த புக்ல இருக்க வேர்ட்ஸே யூஸ் பண்ணி பேசணும்னா, why are we assigning higher value to the ugliest frog, right? ஸோ ஹையர் வேல்யூ டாஸ்க் தான் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பண்ணணும்னு சொல்றாரு இல்லையா? அப்படி சொல்றப்ப நம்ம இந்த those words if you relate, so we are assigning higher value to the ugliest frog. ஸோ இதில் நான் இதில் எப்படி பார்க்குறேன்னா, ஸோ வாட் இஸ் இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங் டாஸ்க் அண்ட் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் டாஸ்க், இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங் வர்சஸ் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் தான் பார்க்குறேன். அப்படியும் பார்க்கலாம், ஒன் அதர் வே டு லுக் அட் இட். ஸோ நிறைய பேர் வந்து நம்ம கம்ஃபர்ட்ல இருந்துப்போம், வி won't get out of our comfort zone. So whatever we are comfortable, though we may be interested in doing certain types of tasks, okay, certain type of taskல ரொம்ப இன்ட்ரெஸ்டடாக இருப்போம், அதையே பண்ணிட்டு இருப்போம். சர்டன் அதர் டாஸ்க் வந்து லெஸ் இன்ட்ரெஸ்டடாக இருப்போம். அதுக்கு வேரியஸ் ரீசன்ஸ் இருக்கலாம். நீங்கள் ஏற்கனவே ஒரு சில சொன்ன மாதிரி ஸ்கில் செட்ஸ் நம்ம என்ஹான்ஸ் பண்ணணும் இல்லையா? அப்போ அந்த ஸ்கில்ஸ் இல்லாதனாலும் நம்மளுக்கு அது லெஸ் இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங்காக கூட இருக்கலாம். ஸோ அப்போ ஸ்கில்ஸ்னாலையோ இல்லைன்னா ஒரு பர்டிகுலர் டைப், ஒரு இது ரியல் லைஃப்பில் கார்பரேட்டில் நீங்கள் அப்ளை பண்ணீங்கன்னு வச்சுங்களேன், குட் பி சர்டன் டிபார்ட்மெண்ட் பீப்புளோட நம்மளுக்கு ஒர்க் பண்ணுறது பிடிக்காமல் இருக்கும், ரைட்? ஸோ அங்கே போனாலே அந்த ஆளை பார்க்கணுமே அப்படின்னு தோணும். ஸோ அதனால அதை நம்ம ப்ரொகாஸ்டினேட் பண்ணிகிட்டே இருப்போம். ஓகே, பட் இட் மே பி இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் அஸ் வெல். அப்போ அந்த மாதிரி சுச்சுவேஷன். இன்னொரு இது வந்து நம்ம பக்கத்து டெஸ்க்ல இருக்கவங்க ரொம்ப ஃப்ரெண்ட்லியாக இருக்க ஒரு பர்சன் அப்படின்றப்ப, பிட்வீன் தீஸ் டூ டாஸ்க் we prioritize the one which is easiest, ரைட்? நம்ம கம்ஃபர்ட்ல இருக்கிறத. அப்போ அந்த டிபார்ட்மெண்ட் போய் ஒர்க் பண்ணுறதை நம்ம தவிர்க்க பார்ப்போம். ஸோ அந்த இடத்துல தான் இதை அப்ளை பண்ணணும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். ஸோ அந்த அக்லியஸ்ட் ஃப்ராகை ஃபர்ஸ்ட் முடிச்சிட்டோன்னா இதை எப்படி இருந்தாலும் முடிச்சிடலாம், பக்கத்து டெஸ்க் தான். ஸோ அந்த கெட்டிங் அவுட் ஆஃப் த கம்ஃபர்ட், அந்த ஆஸ்பெக்ட்ல தான் இதை நம்ம பார்க்கணும்.
Correct. Yeah, getting out of the comfort zone. Maybe that is the best interpretation I think நம்ம கொடுக்கலாம்னு நினைக்கிறேன். Yeah, that's our ugliest frog. Yeah, thank you, Sengu sir, for adding that information. It will be useful for the audience.
Yes, these are invaluable feedback here, sir. Anyone else wants to go? Otherwise, we can end the session.
Hello.
Yes, Rekha ma'am.
Able to hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Jayanti ma'am. Thank you, Chitra, and thank you, Sengu. Chitra, really excellent session. You have done very well, and all the slides you have shown and